If you like to make your NFL games a little bit more interesting, you've come to the right place. It's the Even Money Podcast with Ross Tucker and Steve Fezzik.
Yeah, Vegas, baby, Vegas. It is the Even Money Betting Podcast, and I am Ross Tucker. He is Steve Fezzik. We do it twice a week now, even when I'm in a hotel room on a Thursday because I got a game for radio tonight. Remember, we're having a lot of success with our normal Tuesday show and those bets where we go against the spread as well as the over-unders. Today is about line movement, injury information with the great Dr. Chao. Then we get to the props. Steve, you were 3-1, by the way, in week 2 on your prop bets. Then we throw in a parlay or two because we know you guys like parlays, and that's fine. We like to help you guys with what you like. All right, so check them out at Fezzik Sports. I'm at Ross Tucker NFL. We don't have time to mess around, though. We got to get to some line moves, Steve. Let's start with Indy. They are now up to -4 against the Colts. So some money coming in on against the Titans. So some money coming in on Indy. Atlanta is up to -5.5 in their game. So your thoughts on those line moves?
Yeah, I think this is anti-Tennessee money. Tennessee, woof, 3.2 yards per play, Ross. That's just atrocious. And that Atlanta beatdown against Minnesota, that ground game, just tremendous. Bettors are very bullish on the Falcons.
I also think, by the way, just looking at it right now, I just popped it up on DraftKings again. Colts now up to -4.5. So it's all the way up to 4.5 now for Indy. And Atlanta, I think Tuesday morning, Steve, I don't think a lot of people knew about those O-line injuries. I think that is part of why that line has moved as well. Tell me what's going on with the Steelers, where they're now the favorites against the Patriots?
Yeah, a well-known sports handicapper released Pittsburgh, and that moved the number. I don't agree with this. I think the game, yeah, you can make the case the Patriots should be a 1-point favorite. You know, both these teams were supposed to win 8.5 games. What is the Steelers showing to make them the favorite? I could only look towards New England.
Okay, and then Jacksonville is now laying 2.5, so it's been bet up to 2.5.
Yeah, I think Houston being banged up and, you know, maybe Brian Thomas learns how to play wide receiver again for Jacksonville. We'll see. That was beyond troubling the way he played last week.
What about Dallas? They are now the favorite. They were the underdog, right, against the Bears, and now they're the favorite?
It's been ping-ponging back and forth, and, you know, this is a great example. We talk teasers all the time. This is the type of game, hey, I would tease either one of these. You give me +1.5 up to +7.5, I would take Dallas or the Bears, so now I'm teasing the Bears, yes.
Well, what's great about it is on Tuesday, you know, we teased the Cowboys up to 7.5. So now we essentially have 9 points of value there. Or 1.5, obviously, because we teased them up to 7.5 when they were just getting 1.5. Now they're the favorite, so got to feel pretty good about that. I guess before we get to Dr. Chao, I'm just curious, Steve. In general, are there any like week 3 trends that we should be aware of?
Yes. If you have a team that's 0-2, no one wants to start out 0-2, but they really don't want to start 0-3. And so teams play, it's no longer a marathon. Now it's a sprint. You got to save your season. These teams that are underdogs that have not won a game yet have been historically good, Ross. 48, 27, and 1. Now, some might say in the media, hey, that's because the market is overreacting to their first 2 bad weeks. I personally feel it's not so much the market, it's that the players and the coaching staff, these coaching staff, they're on the hot seat. And everyone's jobs are on the line. You can speak to that, right? That no one wants to have to move to Carolina next year because they're about to get fired. So the whole organization, you know, goes ahead and stresses these early season games, emphasizes it because their jobs are on the line. You want to comment on that?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, they haven't won a game in months and months and months. They're desperate to win a game, which is why it's funny. because on Wednesday's Ross Tucker football podcast, Steve, that's when I make my picks straight up, not against the spread. But the point I made is there's going to be, in my opinion, at least 2 0-2 teams that will beat 2-0 teams. I don't know which one it is. I don't know which game it is. I'd be surprised if that doesn't happen. And every year people are surprised. You're like, oh my gosh, this winless team beat this undefeated team. Listen, it's only 2 games. It's a small sample size. The teams that are 2-0 probably aren't really that good. The teams that are 0-2 probably aren't really that bad. And I think that's why there's always some surprises this week, this time of year, in those 2-0, 0-2 matchups. The thing is, Steve, we don't like surprises. We like knowing the information ahead of time, which is why we love to bring on our guy, Dr. David Chao, every single week. All right, Dr. Chao, these segments have been so helpful already through this season. Really been helpful for Steve with his prop bets. We'll get to how well he did yet again this week on the prop bets momentarily. But we got to get in the injuries with you. You guys all know this already, but certainly check him out at Pro Football Doc or the website at Six Score. It's sportsinjurycentral.com, sixscore.com. These guys are over 56% against the spread with their bets the last few years, strictly based on injury information, which is amazing. Let's start with the game tonight. As people can tell watching on YouTube, youtube.com/Ross Tucker NFL. I am in Buffalo in a hotel room. I've got the Dolphins and the Bills tonight on radio, Westwood One Radio. What do we need to know in this game tonight, Dr. Chao? Who are you looking at in terms of prop bets because of injuries?
Well, first of all, we've been telling you all year since pre-week 1, Miami is a dumpster fire. You know, offensive line issues, which have gotten worse, defensive issues, especially in the secondary. And now the chatter is Mike McDaniel might get fired, right? Who knows? But that part is out. But our take on this game is both sides, the defenses are injured. For Buffalo, Ed Oliver and Shaq Thompson and Matt Milano have injury issues. The secondary is getting healthier, but still not 100%. Storm Duck is still out for Miami. They've got 5 cornerbacks out for Miami. They've got some linebacker issues. The offenses of both teams index healthier than the defenses, more so on Buffalo than Miami. And I know it's a high total, but our numbers show that we index at 58 points instead of the 50.5 based on the healthier offenses over the defense. And with that, in terms of props, we're liking Keon Coleman and Tyreek Hill. I think it's 64.5 and something like 41.5, and Steve can chime in on that.
Wow, that's amazing. I'll get to Steve to get his thoughts on it for sure, but that's crazy. You know, you guys have it at 58 points and the total's 50.5. That is juicy. Tyreek Hill is 64.5. Keon Coleman leads the Bills in receiving. He's at 42.5. So that's a good one, Dr. Chao. All right, what about all the quarterback injuries? Okay, we know that the Vikings and Bengals have both lost their quarterbacks, although you had some really interesting things to say about J.J. McCarthy's injury, Dr. Chao. I think I saw it on a social media clip, but kind of your thoughts on how injured J.J. McCarthy really is and what the Vikings are doing.
There's no question he has an ankle injury. But remember, he also finished the game. And now he's said to have a high ankle sprain. We all remember Patrick Mahomes playing through high ankle sprains, right? And recently, and in playoffs and things like that recently. I'm not saying J.J. McCarthy's not injured, and I'm saying Kevin O'Connell is doing the right thing by J.J. McCarthy. And it really has to, you have a basically rookie who's struggled 7 out of 8 quarters. Can you really put him out there when he's not 100%? You can put Patrick Mahomes out there. You can roll Matthew Stafford out there without a week of practice. You can't roll out J.J. McCarthy without a week of practice. And that's what Kevin O'Connell is doing, saying, look, he's injured, he's out, taking him out of the equation. He's not benched, he's injured. It's hiding behind health. The Panthers did it rookie season with Bryce Young. And the other thing is, you got to remember, Carson Wentz played with O'Connell some in the Rams, but he's a new addition. Carson Wentz needs all the practice reps this week. So this is where it was a very clear decision. It is hiding behind health. He is injured, but it's not, quote, that bad. It's just the right coaching decision. And of course, off of that, we do some more injury things. And then even think about this. When's the last time at the Jets or any team that you saw a quarterback with a concussion or any injury, whether it's J.J. McCarthy or Justin Fields, any quarterback, get ruled out immediately early in the week? Concussions never clear till Friday or Saturday. So why did he get ruled out already? Most times coaches say, well, it's possible. Why? Because they want to go with Tyrod Taylor. Why? Because when you have a 1A, 1B, maybe you want the guy that practices all week. Once again, if it's Jared Goff, you're holding on all week. If it's Josh Allen, you're holding on all week for hope to play and clear the concussion. So that's a little bit of the injury insight from, working in the NFL and looking at these things.
Ooh, that is really interesting. Okay, what about some of these other quarterbacks that we don't know about? We know about some of these other ones, and people can take the under on Justin Jefferson if they want because it's Wentz out there. He's only been there a couple weeks. But what are you thinking in terms of Jaden Daniels with the sprained knee and Brock Purdy with the toe? We thought he'd be out a couple weeks, but he was out there on Wednesday on a limited basis.
Yeah. Brock Purdy, when the announcement came out about turf toe for him, Kyle Shanahan said 2 to 5 weeks. And at Sports Injury Central, we said immediately a lot closer to 2 to 3 weeks than 5 weeks, not going on IR. So he's out there some. It's a possibility. It is front foot, which helps him. It becomes a coaching decision. If you have to ask us, it seems very likely he plays in week 4, questionable in week 3 here coming up in terms of Brock Purdy. And Jaden Daniels, look, interesting. DMP yesterday, DMP, going to be DMP today, Thursday. But remember last season with the ribs, he was DMP Wednesday, DMP Thursday, practice limited on Friday, and beat Chicago with the big Hail Mary bomb at the end. It's not unprecedented. I put up video of Jaden Daniels getting hit where people thought, oh, he's done for the season with a high ankle or a knee, and he's played through. He's been a little bit Patrick Mahomes and Gumby and flexible. So I am not counting out Jaden Daniels yet for this game, but Marcus Mariota is capable as well.
Some other notes just that you sent me, Dr. Chao. No Van Noy for the Ravens. We don't know about Marlon Humphrey, so you kind of like some of the over props for Jared Goff and Jamison Williams. It sounds like Jalen Johnson is going to miss the rest of the season perhaps for the Bears, so you like the CeeDee Lamb over receiving prop. But the team I wanted to ask you about is the Bucs. I mean, you always talk about cluster injuries. We talk a lot about the skill guy injuries, but this O-line now for the Bucs, they lose the right guard, Mock, for the season. Gedeke, the right tackle's out. They already were moving guys all over the place. The center, Barton, the left tackle. The left guard, Bredesen, to center. This is not good now, Dr. Chao.
No, and nobody knows offensive line better than you do, Ross. And, obviously they started the season without their number one offensive lineman, Tristan Wirfs, at left tackle. Godke, we thought, wasn't going to play against Houston in week 2. He played some and left pretty early. And, that led to the under there on that game, which we had thought as well. And now you have 60% of the offensive line out. But it's worse because you mentioned the shuffle, right? when you kick the center out, it becomes center 2, right? So you got center 2, right tackle 2. Everything is shuffled in their first game, and that makes it difficult. And that's the thing we do with Player Edge and props at Sports Injury Central. It's not about the health of Bucky Irving. It's about the health of his offensive line against the defense that he's playing against, right? And so that's how we calculate some of these things. And then you do make a good point. I think it's the first time ever that we have 3 50-point games, and we lean based on the algorithm of health of the offense over the defense to the over on all 3 of them. We mentioned Buffalo, Miami, Detroit, Baltimore, and then Dallas, Chicago, especially with CeeDee Lamb, which is interesting. Last week, our biggest play of the week, and we talked about it on your show, is Amon-Ra St. Brown, 66.5 yards. He hit that in the first quarter in that game against the Chicago Bears.
Make sure you check out Dr. Chao at Pro Football Doc. Go to sportsinjurycentral.com. I mean, if you're not getting this injury information, you're not doing everything you can to succeed, especially on the prop bets. Thank you so much, Dr. Chao. Really appreciate it, as always.
Thank you.
More great stuff right after this. All right, listen, it's almost impossible at this point to keep track of all your finances, the different accounts. I mean, all the streaming services. There's a reason why my friends at Monarch came up with this, right? They didn't want you to be leaving money on the table. They know how busy we all are. This is not just some other finance app. And they know the impact that finances can have on couples, right? It's not good. Do not let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code EVEN at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code EVEN. Trying to save you guys some money so you can increase that bankroll. Monarchmoney.com, code EVEN. October will be here before you know it. That's when your boy, that's me, is getting a new shower, which I desperately need. I don't know how they do it at West Shore Home. They can actually make the shower area bigger, which I need. That we did not do that right when we first bought this house. Anyway, right now you can get 25% off all projects. So that's your bathroom, windows, doors, full house flooring, which they need. That's probably my next project, by the way. 12 months, no payment, no interest. That is nice. Making it even easier to get started. They're going to give you an extra $500 off on top of the 25% just by scheduling now at westshorehome.com/Ross. So make sure you go to that website for details, westshorehome.com/Ross. You can see all of the before and after pictures from the projects I've done at my house. All right, Steve, how about last week? Okay, and I don't know how many of these bets were because of Dr. Chao and how many weren't, but in terms of, by the way, both the parlays lost, but that's the deal with parlays. You took Commanders plus 3.5, Jacobs rushing yards under, whatever. We had all Thursday night parlays last week. But your props, Deebo Samuel, over 4.5 receptions, that hit. Tyler Warren, over 44.5 receiving yards. That hit. Jacoby Myers, over 57.5 receiving yards. That also hit. And then the only prop you got wrong last week, Steve, was Omari and Hampton. You had the over 59.5 rushing yards. Interestingly, they just have not been able to run the ball that effectively. Have the Chargers. Hasn't hurt them. They're still winning, but that one did not come through for you. But 3-1 on your prop bet, Steve. You've been real. I think that makes you. I don't know. I think Grades is going to send me an updated sheet, but I think that makes you 5-1 on your prop so far this year.
Yeah, and just to clarify, everyone wants these parlays, so we're going to give you at least one parlay each week. We're not putting that in the record because I am not personally betting it. But, hey, you want to order a steak well done, I'll go ahead and put it in the order into the kitchen. All right, but I'm not personally betting the parlays.
Yep, and that's the thing. Just so everybody knows, we're not grading the parlays. Those are just for fun for you. Those are what we would do if we wanted to do a parlay. We are grading the prop bets. That is part of it. And Steve, just real quick, the prop bets are usually where you really make most of your money, right? The props as opposed to against the spread and teasers.
That's a great question. So no, the teasers I make. End of the week, the teasers are the most profitable. Early in the week, love betting the NFL sides, but a lot of times, the numbers get away and then there's not any value anymore. So it really depends. It's not unusual. I'm walking through a sports book on Sunday and people are like, Steve, who do you like? And I'm like, and I'm going to give them prop bets, not sides. Yes.
Got it. Okay. All right. So let's get to any prop bets that you like this week. I know you got several. We'll start with the props, then we'll make sure we hit the parlays at the end. What props do you have for us this week, Steve?
Well, Dr. Chao talked about these high totals, and he SIC likes overs, so I'm going to follow that theme. Let's go to tonight's game. Let's play Miami's running back, A-Chain, who's running like a beast. As bad as Miami's been, this dude has been balling. I'm going to go over 99 rush and receiving yards in a game that there should be lots of offense for, obviously for Buffalo, but some for Miami as well.
Well, so I really like that because A-Chain, no running back has more receiving yards or catches since last year than A-Chain. They're going to get him the ball a lot, you would think, especially, by the way, Steve, with Milano out. Milano is like the Bills' coverage linebacker, so that makes the A-Chain bet even better. I know you had texted me this, is there a way for people to parlay that tonight if they want to have a parlay for the Thursday night game?
Yeah, you could certainly parlay with Miami as well. I like Miami plus the 12.5, and so obviously it's correlated, so you take a little haircut on what it pays, but Miami to A-Chain over makes sense.
Okay, A-Chain over and plus the Miami plus 12.5 is a Thursday night parlay for those of you that are interested. Again, we're not getting graded on that. We are grading, Steve, on the over 99 combined rush receiving yards for A-Chain. What about, he talked about some injuries in that Cowboys and Bears matchup. Does that make you more likely to dive into any of the props there?
Absolutely. Should be lots of offense. The quarterbacks are going to be spinning it, and they're going to be spinning it to Odunze and Lamb. We're going to go Lamb over 80. We're going to go Odunze over 60 and a half on these numbers. So the two stud wide receivers over. By the way, I went to the park. I spun the ball at age 62 with my son. I was good today.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. I outplayed him. I was like, I was stoked.
I love it. By the way, Odunze had a good game against the Lions. He would have had it even better if he didn't have that drop. So I like that quite a bit. That's actually an interesting point, Steve, we could talk about sometime is picking guys that have a couple drops because you'd think that that's probably not the case the next game. But I know that that's how they do the numbers a little bit based on how many yards they had the previous game. But they should have had more yards and they just had a drop.
Exactly, and I don't think it's fair that Cooper Kupp and Puka and Ladd McConkey are allowed to watch the ball when they catch it. No one else in the NFL is allowed to by the rules. They're always looking away.
I like, by the way, both Lamb and Odunze have had some drops, so I feel like you're almost getting some value out of that, unless they have more drops, by the way. What about any other parlays for this weekend's action that maybe stand out to you, Steve?
Sure. So I'm going to copy what Atlanta did in their last game when they ran all over the Vikings. I certainly see the possibility of them doing that to Carolina, just an atrocious team. So 3-teamer, we're going to play Penix under 220 yards passing because Atlanta is just going to be ground and pound, and we'll go ahead and play Bijan over 81 rush yards, and Algiers, he'll get plenty of carries in the fourth quarter if Atlanta separates. So Algiers over 43 rushing yards.
Wow. Okay. So anytime you do a parlay, the key is to try to have it correlated.
and not take too much of a haircut in terms of how much you're being charged for that correlation. The most ideal situation, find a parlay that's correlated that you're getting the true odds on. That's much more difficult to find, though.
Okay, so for the props, we got CeeDee Lamb over 80 receiving yards, Rome Odunze over 61 receiving yards. We also have Achane tonight over 99 rushing and receiving yards. Then for the parlays, he likes Miami plus the 12.5 with Achane, and then also Penix under 220, Bijan over 81, Algiers over 43. You know, we didn't really talk about this with Dr. Chao that in depth, but the Niners game has been bet up a little bit as well. You know, they are now up to minus 2.5. I guess, Steve, with the possibility that Purdy plays.
Well, that number's baked in that Purdy is playing, because with Purdy, the Niners are about a point better than Arizona, and the line's minus 2.5, 1.5 for home field. So the market is saying Purdy is in. The market is saying Daniels is out right now with the point spreads.
Got it. Okay. I'm going to get to an email question, Steve, which we get to do sometimes. 3-leg teasers. He wants to know if plus 140 is a good payout for hitting 3-leg teasers.
No,
he said he did
plus 160. Can't play plus
what's that?
140. Plus 160 is your number. Plus 140, no good.
Okay, this is from Brian Wyatt. He says it's the same math as minus 125 for a 2-leg. Is that correct?
It probably is, but now it's harder because now you're stacking, an extra an extra leg on your parlays. No reason to do that. If you shop around, you should be able to find minus 120. At the worst, minus 125 with the 2-teamers, and the variance goes through the roof as you start stacking more and more teams. Got to get them all right, to cash.
Yeah, why would you add another element to it for the same odds? That doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Check him out on social media at Fezzik Sports. I am at Ross Tucker NFL. We are at Ross Tucker Pod. You can always get all these bets in black and white. Patreon.com/RT Media. Why not? $10 a month. Get the vaunted grades spreadsheet. Patreon.com/RT Media. Good luck, everybody. Hope you guys win some money.
Thanks for tuning in to Even Money. Make sure to also check out the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, Fantasy Feast, and College Draft, all on the DraftKings Network, YouTube, or subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform.